So recently I picked up a Deadpool figure to see if it really earned the title of Ultimate, but somewhere between the posing and everything that it offered, it hit me. This wasn't just another figure, and this wasn't just gonna be another review. Instead, it was a way for me to feel like a child again, a time when you could open a toy and lose yourself in the fun. Over a year ago, I tried the Amazing Yamaguchi Spider-Man 2.0, and that figure blew me away. Ever since that experience though, I've been chasing the same high in the form of another figure. I went for the Revoltech Amazing Yamaguchi Deadpool, the 2.5 model to be specific, and it's a figure that's been highly recommended to me over the past year, especially since releasing that Spider-Man experience. I couldn't wait to see what this thing had in store. Even though I already have the Amazing Yamaguchi Spider-Man, this figure feels completely different. It's interesting how the same basic body and silhouette can give off such a fresh experience. With all the new sculpted details and attachments, it's like I'm rediscovering it for the first time. I really enjoy figures that provide a brand new experience, different designs, different posing. It's a nice way to keep things fresh when collecting. From the moment I picked this one up, it was clear that it was well made. Kyoto really put their time and effort into this figure's release. The quality really shines through, from the sculpt to the paint. It even has a nice weight to it, making it feel really premium in hand. There's something satisfying about it that just grabs your attention. And maybe it's just me, but looking at this figure really reminds me of Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. In that game, Deadpool has a wild and chaotic vibe, and this figure captures a similar energy. It definitely feels like, without a doubt, this is Deadpool. Now I do get what some people have said about newer Yamaguchi releases. A year ago, Snacks256 mentioned on the Spider-Man video how a lot of them, like this Deadpool and the Spider-Man figure, share the same core body and silhouette, so it kinda gets played out a little bit and a bit dull, nothing new or exciting to really see or experience with them. Like yeah, without the gear, they could almost be identical twins. However, I feel like once you start getting into things like the details, whether it's the mask, the pouches, the tiny Deadpool logos here and there, the sculpting as a whole, it just starts to feel like its own thing. And even with the same foundation, these figures can feel totally different. Even small touches, like Deadpool symbols sculpted into the bottoms of his boots, those are just really cool details to see. It shows the level of effort being put into the figure and that they're not just taking a Spider-Man body and just slapping a Deadpool skin on it, which could feel like that at first. This base figure is really solid, but gear in his expressive style, that's what brings Deadpool to life. And that brings me to the next thing that makes this the ultimate Deadpool. Alright, let's talk accessories, because honestly, this is where I feel the Deadpool figure really comes to life. The base figure is great, don't get me wrong, but once you start swapping heads, switching hands, and mixing up the expressions a bit, it's like the figure evolves in your hands. Starting off, we have the expression department, where you get so much variety it's kinda overwhelming, but in a good way. I mean, considering how much this figure was, you're definitely getting your money's worth out of it. First up, you have the extra heads, shocked, hard-eyed, and one that sort of looks kind of annoyed or as if it's focused on something, but I think the standout feature of each of the head sculpts is how they have sculpted mouths underneath for that extra level of detail. I mean, Deadpool is an expressive character, so you're going to need a way to convey that in an action figure, and I think that this does that perfectly. You can switch the eyes between the heads to create your own unique combinations, similar to the Spider-Man 2.0, which I really enjoyed about that figure, and so the interchangeable eyes allow for endless mixing options, and coupled with different mouth designs, the possibilities truly feel limitless. I also appreciate how they added these stoppers onto the eye pegs to prevent them from falling out when moving the head, an issue I experienced with that Yamaguchi Spider-Man figure. In addition to the eyes that are in each of the head sculpts, you also get a couple of more options to use as well, which is nice. Another feature that adds to the expressiveness of this figure is the impressive variety of hands. It comes with 17 different ones, which is kinda crazy. These include things like open hands, hands for holding weapons. Each hand allows for various poses, ranging from heroic stances to completely ridiculous antics, and I think that all fits very well for the type of character that this is. Moving past that though, this Deadpool comes with a bunch of gear for combat, so cool looking swords, shiny knives, and some pretty interesting looking firearms. You can dramatically pose him with each of these, whether he's in the middle of an epic duel, and it's up to you whether he's using swords or the guns. One of the things I really like is how functional some of these weapons are. There are these ports on the figure where you can attach stuff like his scabbard or holsters, so if you want to take something like the gun and clip it to his thigh, you can do that, and then you can also attach it to the harness if you prefer that instead. On a smaller note, the details on the handles of the katanas and knives look great, and the guns also look nice, having a futuristic appearance. Gotta be honest though, I do wish they included a more realistic option because Deadpool is no stranger to both styles. There's actually a way to address this issue, but we'll get back to that in a little bit. Still a little more to uncover about this figure, including the last few accessories that really complete the set. He has an explosive chimichanga and a more traditional explosive, and then there's also what's possibly one of the best accessories of this set, a smartphone. This is one of my favorite pieces because you can do some silly things like take a fight break to answer a call, or he could definitely use this to make a prank call or two. Hello?
Are you ready?
Ready for what?
Are you ready for this Sunday night when WWE Champ John Cena defends his title in the WWE Super Slam?
All of those accessories are great, but honestly, none of it would matter if Deadpool couldn't move the way he's supposed to. And luckily, articulation is the other big reason this figure is given the ultimate Deadpool title. The moment you start posing him, it just feels right for the character. Deadpool's known for being exaggerated, over the top, sometimes goofy, sometimes deadly serious, and this figure captures every distinct personality of him. It's all there. If you've handled the Revoltech Spider-Man 2.0, a lot of this is going to feel familiar. The way the joints flow, the kind of poses you can pull off, it's got that same DNA at its core. It's like this design was made for him. While I was posing this figure, every adjustment sparked the same sense of discovery that I had as a child, twisting and turning, seeing what all is possible, and really pushing things to the limit, just letting the imagination run wild. Kyoto packed in over 30 points of articulation, and they all contribute to a range of motion that's a sight to behold. I even experimented with some of the pose ideas you suggested on Instagram, such as the playful legs kicked up, hands under the chin pose, along with various combat stances and some casual setups. Deadpool handled all of them effortlessly, but I think even with those poses that I did, this is only scratching the surface of what this figure can do. Now, it's not flawless. I've been playing around with this figure a bit even before making this video, and while it's a lot of fun, there are some noticeable quirks. Those little hip pouches, they are sturdy, but they have these tiny hinges which makes me a bit nervous about posing them. I worry a bit that they may snap if not careful, or worse, if the figure falls. And while I'm not into drawing or anything like that, I've gotta say that this figure feels like the perfect reference for that type of stuff. If you're an artist, you'll appreciate just how dynamic and exaggerated this figure can get. It really nails that dynamic comic book style you need for superhero sketches. On top of the movement and chaos, there's still one more element that we have. The upgrade that's gonna take everything to the next level, and something that Kyoto themselves ended up making. So as much as this figure comes loaded with accessories, there's one thing I felt fell off from the start, and that was the guns. I'm talking about realistic ones. The pistols that come in the box lean way more on the futuristic side like I mentioned earlier, which yeah, kind of works for Deadpool's goofy side, but when you imagine Deadpool, you also imagine him pulling dual handguns out of nowhere. It just bugged me that these weren't here in the first place. And this wasn't just a Kyoto thing. For a while, it seemed like import figures weren't allowed to pack in realistic firearms. Like if you look at Medicom Toys' Mayfix Winter Soldier, no guns, and that's kinda crazy for that character, seeing how that's a lot of what we saw in the movie. But then, out of nowhere, Kyoto drops this, the Revoltech Expansion Pack Volume 1. The way this had me excited but also baffled at the same time, like why couldn't they just include this stuff from the start? The pack itself though, it's basically DLC for Deadpool and other characters that need these types of weapons. You get the magazines, holsters, firing effects, splat effects even, and most importantly, the realistic firearms that he deserves. Everything clicks in smoothly with this Deadpool, and while some setups can be a bit finicky if you're using the trigger hands, it all still works. And here's the best part. It only costs under $25, and for what it adds, I think that this is a total steal. Would it have been neat to have this already included with the figure? Absolutely, but I think it's one of those things of better late than never, and I'm glad that it does exist. And now that this does exist, it feels like we've entered a new phase, because Kyoto didn't just make this pack. Look at their new Deathstroke figure. He ships with a realistic weapon right in the box. So maybe this is the turning point where stuff like this isn't just extra anymore, it's standard like it should have been from the start for characters who need them. I think it is nice to see Kyoto trying their hand at accessory packs. I'll for sure be getting my hands on the second volume and hope to see more packs in the future for their figures. For anyone who's ever loved the figure or imagined, what if I could add this? This definitely satisfies that itch. Looking back on the Deadpool experience, it was a ton of fun. Trying different poses, juggling the accessories surprised me in ways that I didn't expect. Every figure has quirks, and this one did too, but I'd hoped that I'd enjoy it as much as the Spider-Man. And honestly, I did. This experience took me back to being a child. You know that feeling when you open a toy and just can't put it down for weeks, maybe even months, creating all sorts of crazy stories with it? That's exactly how this thing felt. Was this the ultimate Deadpool figure? Absolutely, or at least one of them, because let's be real, there's always someone out there trying to push things further, keeping the scene fresh. But if you're a longtime collector, a die-hard Deadpool fan, or just someone who loves an impressive figure, this one delivers on all fronts. It's not just another toy or collectible, it brings back that joy of play and creativity, reminding you that the excitement of being a child never really goes away. When a figure can bring an experience like that, I think that's about as ultimate as it gets.